Okay, another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how you doing?
Josh, I'm very well, thank you. Excited to be back after a little 2-week break. And yeah, back in the FPL swing, entering that festive period, best time of the year, not just for Christmas, but also for FPL reasons. And yeah, I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, all gravy, nothing to complain about. You know, mammoth fantasy week for lots of different reasons.
Yeah.
Loads of crazy results for all the new managers and the new teams. I'm sure you'll be happy about that. You predicted against the villains and come up trumps. So yeah,
Yeah, I'll
must
take that every day.
must be loving it.
Thanks for reminding me for being a Judas. But
Oh, there
yeah.
you go. That's all right. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're right. It was a manic week. And what we play FPL for that kind of week, ups and downs. And yeah, a lot to go through. So what's on the agenda?
Well, we've found a little groove now, haven't we? So what we're going to do is cover the same points that we have done in recent videos, and this
Yeah.
time you'll see our faces. And so we're just going to go through review game week 12 as we always do. Then we're going to look at the top performers for XG and XA, the last 5 game weeks. Then we're going to go through some quick fire questions. We've got 8 this week. Then we're going to look at some key fixtures, the key fixtures for game week 13. And then we're going to obviously look at our plans, transfer plans and captaincy, and then a look at how the algo teams got on in game week 12.
Sounds good to me, man. Sounds good to me. Yep. Standard template. We're doing this in our sleep now, aren't we?
Exactly.
Doing it
Easy.
in our sleep. Streamline. Good. So Josh, how did you get on in game week 12? Talk to me.
Well, green arrow. So can he complain at that? Not massive, but still I'll take it. Total points, 69 points. So pretty good overall. I mean, big performers. A lot of people had some massive defensive performances this week. And yeah, Trent and Cancelo were my two. So coming in with 15 points for Trent, obviously 12 for Cancelo. They're just looking immense. And then Salah obviously still returning. Bought in Jota this week, he got 8. Bought in Gallagher, he got 5. And then Tony, we've been kind of talking about getting him out and saying Brentford's a bit mismatch, and his shot probably should have been saved, but I'll take the goal. That'll do.
It's finally done the business for you.
Yeah, lovely, Tony. So yeah, overall, not too bad. And then those blanks we've got. Livy can't be angry at Livy after all he's done for us in recent weeks. Duffy with the point, but he came off the bench from me, so not expecting too much. And then blanks from Vardy and Antonio as well. But the forwards, a lot of the big forwards are kind of not really doing it across the board, so I can't really complain about those two. But overall, great. I'll take it.
Happy days, man. Yeah, well done. 69, nice score. Less of a good week for me. Less of a good one. 60 points, so a little bit above the average, which I'm always happy with. And I always say if you hit 60, you can't complain about the week. So yeah, not too bad. Just a bit disappointing, when you think you're on for a really good week, and then it's a bit of a damp squib on the Sunday. That's kind of what happened to me, really. So yeah, like you, I had Duffy come in on. The real pain of this week was having Dennis and Cody on the bench, 14 points and 6 points.
Did see that.
Which
That's
burned.
windy.
That one did burn. Dennis, I mean, I was just thinking about Dennis on my walk to the gym earlier, just thinking about him. And my long history with him. I remember you recommended getting him in weeks and weeks ago for me, which I did and played him. And I think he got 1 point in 3 consecutive weeks. So I was like, you know what, bench fodder now. And since then, he's come out with some explosive scores. I think he's the 4th highest forward in the game, scoring forward in the game. So yeah, whilst Kane and Antonio just do nothing for me week after week. So it's one to think about, I think. Do I start playing him? I don't know. But yeah, thank God for Liverpool this week. Salah with 16 points, Mane 12 and Trent 15 really just saved me this week. Only Gallagher getting any other sort of return for my team. And Yeah, I think the theme of this week, Josh, will be those fullbacks, won't it? I need to get some fullback action in my team. But we can talk about which ones to get, whether people should be doing it or not. And yeah, looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that.
Well, spoiler, they are present in the quickfire question round. So,
Can't wait.
we can talk about it then more.
Yeah, lovely job. Good. So yeah, let's not dwell on my team there. Let's not dwell on that because it's not very exciting. 60 points, is it? But yeah, I've stayed almost exact rank wise, I think. Tiny red arrow. So I went from, where have I gone from? Why can't I read these stats? I'm looking at the wrong game week. Yeah, I've gone from 1.4 mil to 1.4 mil. So yeah, dropped 30k places. 30k places. You needed more decimal points there. 30k places I've dropped. So it's a kind of treading water week for me.
So it's like the game week never happened then, really.
Let's forget it. Yeah, let's forget it. Tune in next week for next week's pod. But yeah, you've done really well the last couple of weeks after a bit of a dip, mid-season dip.
Yeah, 2 green arrows. Long may it continue, basically.
Got to be buzzing with that.
In the room. So we're moving on to XG and XA, top performers. So let's start with third spot for the XG. Still present in the XG chart. It's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, 3.66. We've had, 2 goals in these last 5 games and then 1 assist as well to boot. Thoughts on the P, Jack?
Yeah, thoughts on the P. I'm not a big fan of the P. I'm not eating my greens really anymore. He's not the horror show he was last season, but he's nowhere near back to his best, where he was one of the best players in the game, wasn't he, the season before? I mean, Arsenal got a lesson by Liverpool. I thought they got a real hard look. You're not this level yet, anywhere near the level of Liverpool, where it was embarrassing, really, for them to. I mean, maybe not embarrassing, but it was like stark, the difference after Klopp and Arteta had their little tiff on the touchline. Then it just was amazing how Liverpool responded, and Arsenal had nothing. I thought it was remarkable to see. So yeah, P, and obviously they're not going to play Liverpool every week, but Aubameyang isn't the player in that team that he doesn't have that talisman theory behind him. I don't think anymore for them. I think they're relying on the Sakas and the Smith Rowes, and even Lacazette's a bit more now than they used to. So it's probably good for Arsenal, but bad for Aubameyang as an FPL asset, despite these decent underlying stats. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
It's a strange one. I mean, obviously he's underperforming. XG of 3.66, only actually 2 goals in that period of those last 5 games. But I know what you mean. He's not quite giving you enough, or us enough, to really go for, like, really push the agenda on him and say, look, you need to bring him in. But it is strange because there's a lack of other forward assets that we're really going for. And there's been a lot of chat about, shifting funds from your front line to your defensive line because those defensive assets are performing so well. But that's not going to be the case for the whole season. And obviously you want to get a jump on things before it starts to switch. But I think we'll be reading into it too much if we try to push him ahead of, some of those defensive assets. That's just trying to find something that's not there, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, we say jump on something before it switches, but there's got to be signs that it's going to switch, and there aren't any are there. I'd like Aubameyang. I just don't get that fear factor of, God, I really wish I had him, that you get with some players, that I'm definitely getting with the fullbacks at the moment, the Chilwells and the Cancelos, who we'll come on to. But that fear factor there for me is really there with them. And it's not to do with their ownership even. It's just to do with, God, why don't I have this guy on my team? It doesn't make sense. And I'm not getting that with Aubameyang now. But on the flip side, as you say, there aren't really. It's not like by having him, you're missing out on a superstar striker at his price point at the moment. So he's not the worst one to have. I probably wouldn't sell him if I didn't need to, if I had him with a free transfer. But yeah.
Yeah, so a bit of meh, Just
Bit of meh.
meh. Just
Yeah,
meh.
a bit of meh with P, just standard peas. There's nothing fancy about these peas.
Boring
no,
peas.
no exciting spices or not even mushy.
No.
So let's move on. Who's number 2 in the XG charts, Joshua?
Or talking about fear factor and talking about having confidence in someone, it's Watford's Joshua King. So 360 minutes in the last 5 game weeks, just beating the P in the XG with 3.69, but returning 4 goals. So you've got Dennis, and I know you, as you said, he's been kind of performing in the last 2, despite doing nothing really for a long time since I recommended him to actually before then. But King, and let's extend it. King and Dennis, the 2 of them. What are you thinking, kind of short, medium term for them?
Well, spoiler alert, a little bit for my transfer moves later. I might be doubling up on these 2.
Ooh.
You know, I know, pretty wild, but I'm relying on you to talk me out of that because it does seem insane. 2 Watford strikers in your team. But Josh, yeah, King, I mean, he scored that hat trick, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago, which I guess 4 of these goals are made up of that hat trick. But got one against United, but United were just bafflingly bad, weren't they? And, you know, that is the worst they have looked ever, I think, in my life of seeing them. Like worse than under Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, previous Ole disasters. Like that was maybe the worst Man United performance I've ever seen, certainly from a defensive standpoint. So yeah, I mean, it sounds mad to say, but he's not going to play United every week. So should we get him in? I don't know. Great enabler. His price, I think, he's 5.4 or something. And yeah, I don't know what, but are Watford any good? I'm not sure they are. It's tricky. It's tricky for an enabler. Yes. For anything more, I think we need to see a bit more consistency. What do you think?
I am surprised that you're doubling up. I mean, I would say if you were gonna just have him, for example, or Dennis, I'd say okay, enabler, great. They've been performing well recently, but Watford have got mixed fixtures next. So Leicester, Chelsea, Man City, Brentford, Burnley. So across the next 5, 2 very, very tough fixtures, and then the rest are mixed really. But what I'd say is through that, if you've got both of them, I mean, what if any of your other assets or any of your other players have tough fixtures as well? You'll be forced to play one of them maybe through one of those tough fixtures or not. And then the other question is, if you move to having both of them in the team, getting off of them at their price point is going to be very tough.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. I mean, let's forget about me for now because I'm a unique example of why I might want to double up, and we can go into that later of why I might be looking to do it it's basically to get funds reason, and I need a cheap striker. Is he the best one apart from Dennis? So we can go into that a bit later, I think. But yeah, as an asset in himself, I think you're right. It's not. United were a freak occurrence. They were that bad, and they got. Who did he score the hat trick against? They beat someone like 5-3, didn't they? It's like a wild game. Who was that against? Do you remember that? It was a crazy back and forth game, but it was someone that's not too bad, I thought. But anyway, I just think Watford. There's a lot of problems still with that Watford team, so I think wait and see with them if you can. But if you do need that enabler, as we'll discuss later, I think he's a great option.
Yeah, that was against Everton, the hat trick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course, because he was there, wasn't he? He got the revenge hat trick because they never played him. Yeah.
So yeah, I think good enabler, especially as there's an absence of other strikers. Agree with you on that, and we'll let everyone else make their own decision on him past that.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, make your own decision, people. Don't listen to us.
Come on, guys.
Don't be sheep. Come on.
Sheeple.
Who is number 1, Josh? Who's number 1 in the XG charts? Shocker, this one.
It is still Mohamed Salah. So over the last 5 game weeks, 4.08 XG, 5 goals, continues to perform. And then we're looking also not just the goals, but 4 assists as well. So, I mean, do we continue to speak about him? I think he's put his case forward for the Puema captain again this week. Just continues.
Just keep going. Yeah, just keep captaining him. Keep rolling with it. Have faith. He's the surest bet I've ever seen, I think, in FPL. Like, it's just mad. And just watching them turn it on against Arsenal, Salah was frightening. Like Salah, I thought Mane was great as well. And having Mane save my game week as well as Salah, I think Mane's back to something like his best too. But yeah, Salah's essential. And yeah, avoid captaining him at your own risk for sure.
Yeah, nothing more needs to be said about that. Everyone knows it, really, don't they?
Yeah, it's basics. It's basics. Should we move on to the XA?
XA, yeah, 3rd spot. Callum Hudson-Odoi popping up again. He was there last week. He's there again this week. An XA of 1.8. In the last 5, he's had 1 goal, 0 assists. Despite those expected assists, he still has 0. So,
poor guy.
Any updates on the opinion of last week, which was this is way too soon?
Yeah,
any update on that?
He's not on my radar at all. Not interested. I think he could be dropped at any given moment. Chelsea, especially with the European games and the Christmas fixtures, I think he's not worth the risk getting in your team, frankly. Yeah, opinion's not changed on him. Really good player, I think, but FPL, that Chelsea team is very risky getting any kind of attacking asset there. Yeah, not a lot else to say. What do you think?
Completely agree. I mean, he's not been exactly an outstanding performer, like setting himself as undroppable to Tuchel, for example. So, you know, he will be rotated at some point when he's going to lose minutes. And in fact, you know, he has in those last 5 game weeks, he's played less minutes than the other 2 people in the XA chart. So that kind of proves the theory, and I'm sure it will be proved further in the next few game weeks as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Avoid for now. Yeah.
But perfect segue, talking about the other 2, to the 2nd spot, Jack. Who's in number 2? Another unfamiliar face. 2nd spot.
Yeah, it's another avoid. Mo Salah. Don't get him. Avoid buying him because you should already have him. So you can't buy him. Let's move on. We've talked about Salah. Let's move on to number 1.
Number 1, it's his Liverpool teammate, Trent Alexander-Arnold. 2.8 XA, sorry. That's almost 1.0 more. It's actually 0.9 more than Salah, which is huge. 1 goal, 4 assists in the last 5. I mean, he's right up there with the Cancelos and, you know, the Chilwells and all of the people that are creating from the back line. And I would say that maybe he's the one that you have most confidence in to continue performing across the whole season as well, out of those.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the track record, like you say, hasn't he? He's got the track record of seasons gone by where he's been essential. He's back to that level now. Liverpool as a whole are back to that level now. And we'll talk later about the fullbacks and the premium defenders, but I think he's he's top of the pile. If you don't have him and you're looking to bulk up your defense, he's the one to get if you don't have him. He's just brilliant, isn't he? Lethal crosser. Yeah, he really is. He's scary. He's probably got less goal threat than, say, a Cancelo or a Chilwell, but I'd say just more than makes up for it with his assist potential. Like, it's the best of any. Well, as these stats show, the best potential of any player in the whole game, midfield, striker, or defender for assists. And he's got he's got 2 of the most lethal finishers in the business on the end of them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what people are looking at with their teams, but he's got to be pretty high on the list of people to bring in if you don't have him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Awesome. All right. That's XG and XA. Quick little break, and then we'll go on to the quickfire questions.
Happy days, man. Yeah, let's do it.
Lovely.
Cool.
And we're back. We are back. And now, Jack, straight into the quickfire questions. And I prepared them for you this week. So I'm going to be, pitching them to you and then come back with as quick but useful and helpful answer as possible.
Quick and helpful. They'll be as quick as they are helpful.
There we go. Perfect. Wait a minute.
Take it that way. Yeah, take it that way you want.
Number one, this is actually a question from you, the only question from you. So you should have an answer from this. Ollie is now gone. So what does that mean for United's talent? Jump on or stay off or hold or sell?
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, the big news this week, Ole's finally been reluctantly nudged out the door, I would say, by the United board. Gutted for all of us who've been enjoying the circus from afar. It's been great. It's been a great few years for us all. And yeah, I'd be a bit worried now as a non-United fan about an actual manager who's not inept going in there and really making a go of it. But ahead of game week 13, there is no one in there. Carrick's taking charge, I believe, of the next couple of games. Carrick's been there the whole time. Pretty rubbish coach by the look of it. So I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about it. Maybe if you've got Ronaldo still, or if for some reason you've got Luke Shaw still, keep them. But I'm not worried about them yet as a non-owner, to be honest. What about you? You're a big Ronaldo fan. Does it pique your interest in him?
No, for the reasons that you've just said. Someone who was on the coaching staff with Ollie previously, we're not expecting any significant change in, the tactical strategy or man management. And there's no doubt that they've got the talented individuals there, but they really need a leader and coach to give them a set plan and to propel their morale and confidence to the next level. And Carrick's just not that guy. It's going to be much the same, isn't it? So I'm not expecting a bounce from Carrick. It will be whoever the permanent persons that they bring in, then we can really take a look at it. But it's just one of these things. They've got great assets, and against fodder teams, yeah, they're going to get points. But middle term, you don't want to bring them in because you may have to get them out short term.
Yeah, we're in agreement there. It'd be fascinating. It'd be fascinating to see. The potential's huge, isn't it? With those players, the potential is massive. But yeah, don't rush into it. Wait and see how things play out. You don't know who's going to be dropped, who's going to start. Is Van der Beek going to come in now? We don't know. Yeah, loads of questions open. Done.
Good, quick and helpful. I love it.
Very good. Number 2, please.
Number 2. So a lot of talk of defensive assets now. Looking at the premiums as well. Do you want 2, 3, 4 premiums? Answer.
So by premiums, how do you define a premium? Is it 6 and above?
I'm looking 6 and above, and I know some 5.5s have risen to around the 6 over the Reece Jameses, etc. So include them in the conversation.
Count him in there. Yeah, I mean, I think we said in last week's pod, like, just slow down. Things can change really quickly. Attackers can come to the fray just as quickly as these guys have come up. But now, I've completely changed my mind after a week. No, I'm getting that fear now, not owning. So I only own Trent. I don't have Cancelo, Chilwell, or James. And I'm really worried now that I don't have them. When you watch Chelsea, especially, it's, Chilwell could have had 2 goals easily alone against Leicester. And Cancelo, just that assist for Sterling was just an absolute peach. Salah-esque, but from his right foot, the way he just curled it in, it was beautiful. So, yeah, 2 or 3, probably ideally 3. Like, I guess the question is, if you're wildcarding now, would you pick 2 or 3? I would pick 3, like, especially without the other premiums, especially the premium forwards not doing the business. Ronaldo, Lukaku, Kane. I mean, I really feel sorry for the people that wildcarded around that time and got those 3 in, because they've had a shocker since then. So people like you who did the right thing, wildcarded at that great time when you did bring a couple of them in. So you got Diaz and Cancelo, didn't you, I think, and Trent?
Yeah, those 3.
Yeah, and that served you really well. What I would say is, I don't know, say you have I'd say the prime 3 to get would be Cancelo, Chilwell, and Trent would be the prime 3. And I'm not sure what having James is very close as well, but I think Azpilicueta is closer to knocking on his door than Alonso is on Chilwell's door. I'd be surprised if Aspika doesn't get another minutes in the Prem. But those four would be the only ones I consider. I don't know if like a Diaz, say, or even a Rudiger is worth having on top of those three without doing a bit too much damage to the rest of your team finance wise. What do you think about it all?
Yeah, I think it's dangerous going for the four and then having people like Livramento and even like your Duffys or other defensive assets that you may want to play, because then you could be looking at wanting to start 5 defenders. And I know people will say, well, why is that a bad thing? But relying on cleans in the Prem, I think we've seen this before. There's so much volatility. It's so hard to predict results. We've seen consistent returns from, Liverpool, Chelsea, and City, and they are the best three. And I think Chelsea have joined City and Liverpool in, their defensive consistency. I think they're better actually than Liverpool this year. So I think spreading your bets, as you said, taking one from each, the best, like a defender that has the best attacking output, get one of each from the 3 teams, and then cover yourself with 2 other cheaper defenders, and that will serve you well long term. At the moment, because they're booming, if you want a 4th, great, but know that you won't want that 4th for a long time. You will be getting them out again.
Yeah, true. And I think there are enough good, very, very cheap defenders you don't need the 4 big ones. Get the 3, and then you can get your Livramento, Duffy, Cody, Johnson, 3.9 at West Ham starting fullback. Like, there are enough budget guys that you'll feel okay putting on your bench, playing those 3, or maybe playing one more of them and playing 4. Livramento's shown he's amazing value, hasn't he? Apart from this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd go for the 3. Go for the 3 if you can. That's where I'm going to be aiming towards with my transfers.
Great. And actually, the next question 3, you've already answered it within that answer. So it was, who were the best kind of 3-4 assets across the next 5 game weeks. So you've said ideally you'd take Chilwell, Trent, and Cancelo. So that answers that question.
Yeah, and then it would be 2, and then two budgets like then it would be Livramento definitely, and then another, probably Johnson or Duffy or Cody, or one of the 4.5 and belows.
Lovely. Yeah, question 4 then. So this applies to those defenders that we just talked about, but also midfielders and attackers for the European teams. Off the back of the international break, now we've got, European games coming in midweek as well. Should you be wary of the rotation risk of, some of these players? And this question I've raised because of Diaz this week. It looked like he was just dropped to rest, basically ahead of the Champions League games. Should you factor that in? I mean, how much weight do you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, only as much as I'd worry about certain teams' rotation anyway. So City, in European games or not, I'd worry about rotation. And same with Chelsea these days. Take Liverpool. Salah's going to start in Europe, isn't he? Does that mean he's going to be benched at the weekend? Definitely not. So yeah, I actually don't. I think it's a bit of a red herring with the European fixtures, and people really worry about them. It's only a worry if the players you've got are a worry anyway, if that makes sense. So like if James starts for Chelsea, that's a worry that Atsby might start. But last weekend it was a worry Atsby would start anyway ahead of him. So I don't think it's, you know what I mean? Am I making sense there? It's not I don't think it's a big deal outside of how big a deal rotation worry is anyway. Because I think Diaz now, it just seems like he's not the kind of the player of the year player he was last year quite, and maybe he's regressed a bit, and so needs a rest. I don't know. Yeah, because no one's safe in that Pep team, are they? So
Or the Chelsea team. I get what you're saying. Like, it emphasizes a ready underlying risk, doesn't it?
yeah,
Just over this period of time where there's like heavy fixtures. So, but that will always be there, that risk.
yeah. And when you go down to the Europa League and the Europa Conference League teams, it's sort of, in theory, they should be more at risk because they're playing on the Thursday. But the teams in those competitions have less depth anyway. So like Kane's going to probably start that game and start at the Prem. Antonio the same because of their the lack of depth in their respective squads compared to Chelsea and City. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Lovely.
My tip.
Good. One less thing to worry about for FPL, so we'll take that. Question 5, moving on. When will AFCON start coming to your thinking with your long-term transfer plans? So when you're thinking about who am I going to bring in, who should I need to cover or think about for players that are going to AFCON? It starts in January, but obviously the 9th of January, I believe it is, but players obviously will be leaving their squads, the Prem squads, a bit earlier than that. I think it's touted kind of Boxing Day-ish. So when will you start considering that when you're making transfers?
Probably not till the day before Boxing Day. Whatever. Is that a notable day on the calendar?
Nah.
Boxing Day Eve, I call it. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a good mutual friend, Steve, was educating me on this the other day. He was saying how there might be a bit of a dispute with Liverpool, with Salah and Mane, because the rule is it's got to be 2 weeks before the tournament, but then they set a precedent for next year's World Cup when they've said 8 days before the World Cup in Qatar. So Liverpool might argue, well, if it's 8 days, then why not 8 days now? And there's a game, I think, on 13 days against Chelsea for Liverpool, 13 days before the tournament starts. So they'll obviously want Mane and Salah for that. So maybe it's a fault of mine for not looking too far ahead, but we're still in November. I'm not thinking about it now. So much changes in 2 weeks in FPL, let alone 5 weeks, that I'm not going to start thinking about it until, and we've got so many fixtures in those weeks anyway. It's almost like it's 2 months away in terms of fixtures, in terms of game weeks, rather than 1 month away. So yeah, maybe I should I be worrying, Josh? Am I too relaxed?
I think it's worth taking a look at your squad now and just taking note of how many players you've got. So you've got, if I've understood this correctly, you'll have Dennis, Mane, Salah. People may have Mendy. People may have Mendy. Arsenal have been hit, so not many people have Partey, but the Aubameyangs will be going as well. And then there's a few other assets like Cornet, for example, looking great at the moment, like having some good returns. He'll be going. So yeah, I think it's just taking note of how many you've got. If you've got kind of 4 or above, then you should factor that into the next couple of weeks, because the last thing you want to do is get to that game week and have like 4 people that you need to replace.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, thinking about, I guess, yes, feasibly someone could have Mane, Salah, Cornet, or Mane, Salah, Aubameyang, or Cornet and Aubameyang, Salah. I suppose you're right. Yeah, I'm not being empathetic enough with potential teams and just thinking selfishly about my own one. So yeah, maybe
there's still time.
There's still loads of time, and like hits aren't a crime, are they? If you want to take a hit, you can. And I'd at least wait until we definitely know when they're going to be going.
Yeah.
If they get an extension, then you might kick yourself for selling Mane before an easy fixture or whatever. Yeah, but keep it's one to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't start cementing in plans yet based on it.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it in the week leading up to it anyway, because it's going to be quite a big topic. So.
Don't want to. I don't want to mention it again.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Boxing Day. Until Boxing Day, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah,
I'm going to raise it secretly.
Good. Yeah.
All right. Question 6. So we've got flags for both Jota and Rafinha this week. Obviously, we'll wait to hear from the managers at the conferences how they're doing ahead of the next game week. But if you had to replace them, if it looks like they're not going to play on the Friday we hear they're definitely not playing, who are you bringing in?
Yeah, the Rafinha one was a real disappointment, only because it just made me even more tantalisingly close to Dennis coming on, but Duffy was blocking him with his 1-pointer. So
cheers, Duffs.
Thanks, Duffage. Yeah, do we know how ill he is? What kind of it was it? An illness with Rafinha? I haven't actually seen anything else.
I've only heard the report of illness, which means he should be back. But I mean,
so.
Wait to hear the news update right before the game week, isn't it? But I mean, it came out of the blue it blindsided us a bit. So, but Jota's is a bit different, obviously, than the knee collision. And as far as I'm aware, we've had no update on the scans or after he's had it looked at. So it's just kind of we'll have to wait and see for him.
Yeah, tough one. Two probably the best value midfielders in the game out potentially, which is a real shame. With Rafinha, obviously wait on it. I mean, wait on it for them both. But if assuming they are out for this question, who are the best replacements? Gallagher's the obvious one that springs to mind. I mean, he's really pulling up trees at Palace, who look brilliant at the moment. I'd also lean towards Jared Bowen. I think even though West Ham lost at the weekend, he seems like the main man. He should have scored again at the weekend. In the last few weeks, he's been their best player, frankly. Smith Rowe, also in the mix, still 5.9, seems to be developing into a bit of a talisman for Arsenal now. And yeah, I don't know why I'm just not that keen on Smith Rowe. I don't know what it is. He keeps scoring. I don't know why I'm against him, really. And then the only other two I've got are Trossard for Brighton, who did look lively against Villa still, despite not scoring. He's definitely the talisman there at Brighton. And Bernardo Silva was the only other one. So going against our mantra of avoid all City attacking options at all costs, he seems to be breaking the mold now. Started every game apart from game week 1. Pep said some great things about him. Yeah, I've thrown a lot of players at you there, Josh. How would you rank them in order? And have I missed anyone?
I mean, I can't remember. Did you say Cornet as well? I think his underlying stats have been good over the last 4.
Is he a midfielder?
I believe so. Could be wrong. I thought he was.
Oh, my mistake.
Or is he coming out as a striker?
I thought he was a striker. Yeah, it could be.
You may need to correct
no, you're
me.
right. No, you are completely correct, actually. Cornet is a midfielder.
Is a midfielder. So, I mean, if you look at his points breakdown as well, he's returned well over the last 5. And Burnley, I know they're not the best team, and we talk about the quality of the team as well when considering them, but they've got Tottenham next, then Wolves, Newcastle, West Ham and Watford. So there's some nice fixtures in there for him. And I think, like you said, maybe the lack of confidence in ESR for Arsenal, because he is overperforming. The stats show that he's overperforming at the moment. So we're waiting to see whether he can keep doing that. But
who, sorry?
Smith Rowe.
Smith Rowe, yeah.
So what can he keep overperforming, or will those stats catch up or whatever? But apart from that, annoyingly, as you pointed out at the beginning, Raf and Jota are your best options. So I think if you're told that they're only out for a week, if your bench can take it, just roll. No, it sounds quite passive, but maybe that's the best option when no one else jumps out.
Yeah, I mean, Leeds need Rafinha. They need him. I thought they were decent against Spurs saying that, but he's easily their best player, isn't he? He is
big time.
He's a superstar. Whereas Liverpool, Minamino got a goal, and he can fill in for the short term for Jota, I think.
Yeah, and in the past, Oxlade-Chamberlain has played a false 9 and stuff like that. So they do have a couple of options, but with Origi gone as well, and having sold players in the summer, they are looking quite light across the front line now.
Yeah,
but we'll wait and see. So yeah, no big names. I mean, if you don't have Gallagher, I'd say he's a great person to jump on probably before his price rises again. I think he's 5.9 now. So if you don't have him and you're thinking you're definitely going to make the switch, he'd probably be my number 1.
Agree, man.
Nice. Question number 7. Is it time, Jack, to replace Antonio? Last week we said no. Are we now saying maybe?
It's difficult, isn't it? I'm thinking maybe now. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe. Just having
what a look difference
at
a game week makes.
I know. Well, yeah, he's been slipping, hasn't he? For quite a few weeks now. He's not scored now in, is it 5 game weeks?
It's adding up.
It's adding up now. And looking at the XG data for just November, so this month, he's not even in, I mean, he's nowhere near the top 10. Top 20, he's not there. I mean, he's just not there, sadly, for Mikel. And Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, when a player does so well at the start and you bring him in maybe a bit late, and then it dries up for them. Letting go of that's so difficult because it's the classic sort of you wait and wait and wait, get him at last, and then they dry up. We saw it with Pookie, didn't we? That year he came up, smashed it, and then January didn't score again. So, yeah, I mean it's weird because there's the other strikers aren't doing anything either, apart from some of the budget options. So what it does lend itself to, and what I'm looking at that I've alluded to, is using him to restructure the way finances are spread in my team, downgrading him to a King or a Cornet, who I've now discovered is a midfielder, so I can't get him. And then upgrading that defense to get those big boys in at the back. So it's him, yeah. But then I've got Kane as well, and many people have got Kane who also isn't firing. So it's a question of who's the worst out of them, which is a horrible dilemma to have when you've got two of your strikers in that position of you hate them both, but who's worse? So yeah, Antonio just doesn't seem to be doing the same things he was doing. He's getting those hockey assists, but I'm not seeing great saves made from the keeper from Antonio efforts or chances he's squandering as much. And the XG data seems to show it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, against Wolves, it was a bit disappointing. Two shots from him, very low XG, 0.06. And I think I was almost expecting a dip in his returns because of these tough fixtures that West Ham have got coming up, but I didn't expect to see it in this particular fixture. So they've got Man City next, then Brighton, who proven himself tough defensively, then Chelsea.
It's hideous.
Then Burnley, who are starting to turn around a bit, then Arsenal, who are on an upward trajectory. Despite the Liverpool game, they are still moving in the right direction. So it's not looking great for West Ham assets, and that's the whole reason why I was reticent about pushing Bowen recently. So what you're saying is you could see him continue to stall for another 4 or 5 game weeks, and then you start thinking you have to get him out. But what comes to mind for me then is what you said last week about the philosophy of don't concentrate on who you want to get out, concentrate on who you want to bring in, and obviously then think about who needs to go from your team. So I'd only get rid of him if you were really, really thinking I need to bring in a striker, or as you said before, shifting budget around, and he's got to be the head to go because of that. I wouldn't he would not be the reason solely why I got rid of him, if you know what I mean. It would have to be for a greater goal.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. Don't just ditch him and then look for a striker because you don't like him. But he is frustrating, and a lot of people still own him. I think he's still 47% owned, so basically 1 in 2 teams have him. And yeah, you're right, with those fixtures coupled with his form, I think it's a very justified sell.
Yeah.
For Anti-Boy. God love him.
God
love him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the 8th and final quickfire. Is it no longer time to target Newcastle and Norwich fixtures?
Good question.
I
think Norwich, let's tackle them both individually then. Norwich are still an easy fixture, I think. I think they got a bit lucky against Saints with McCarthy having a bit of a mare for both their goals. And they obviously had that new manager bounce, which doesn't last long for any team. I still don't think they're a great fixture at all, Norwich. I think the better teams will put them to the sword a bit. And Saints are just a weird one, aren't they? They can get a result against a great team and then look rubbish. They sort of play, they're a sort of team that reduces or raises themselves to the level of their opposition sometimes, Saints. So Norwich, yeah, attack them still. Attack Norwich. Newcastle, I still think attack Newcastle. I don't think they're that great still. Burnley scored 3
draws. 2 draws in the last 2 for them. And I know what you mean. Like, maybe the thing that saved them in that last game, that 3-3 against Brentford is the home advantage there, a bit of a bounce from.
Yeah, the feel-good factor is there, which is dangerous, isn't it? There is the feel-good factor. And Eddie Howe, will he be up the next game after the COVID thing? I think he probably will.
I think he should be, but
cured.
Brighton the week before 1-1 away. I mean, that's a decent result.
It is, yeah, it is. I don't know. I'm still hesitant to say that they're not a bad team. It's still the same players Bruce had, isn't it? You know, Joe Linton's not going to start being amazing. I don't care, is he?
True.
He's not.
Lionel, Joe Linton.
And yeah, apart from ASM, I think they're still pretty rubbish. And it would be funny if they went down, wouldn't it? It would just be funny after the takeover if they went down. It'd be brilliant. So, and I think other teams think it would be funny. So they're going to try and beat them. And no, I think it's too early to say that those aren't the easiest fixtures still.
Yeah, fair. Okay, that's the quick fires. We're going to quickly move on to key fixtures. So in the past, we've just chosen maybe three, 4, 5, whatever fixtures we think are going to be most significant. This week's really tough because there's a lot of tight matchups. And I think there's only a couple really, and they're both the Super Sunday fixtures where people are going to have maybe a lot of assets, and so they're worth talking about. And the first, then out the two I've chosen, is City at home to West Ham. What do you think about this one? West Ham haven't been great recently, but if you're still having your Antonios and maybe your Bowens or Ben Ramas or Fornals, what the hell are you going to do with them in this fixture?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not a good fixture for West Ham at all. I think they're not firing as and again, we've mentioned selling Antonio as an option. This fixture's one of the big reasons why. And if you decide to keep Antonio, definitely play him. And I'd say the same for Bowen and your other West Ham attacking assets. City, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, City, I'm still not looking at their players and thinking I really want them apart from Cancelo. I mean, what did you think of Bernardo Silva? Would you target him?
I don't think he's got a high enough ceiling to take the risk, personally.
Yeah.
Like we've caught him in a good moment. Great. Will he continue doing that for 10 more game weeks, let alone the rest of the season? Probably not. And I think he's one of those people that you want to bring in, like a mid-price player that you want to bring in their good moment. But there's better players, I think, other talisman that are coming in at better price points as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, if I had players from both these teams, I wouldn't be feeling too great about it, apart from maybe Cancelo. So, yeah, I think Man City will win for sure. But
and do you think West Ham will score?
I don't know. I'm not sure,
So you're still going to play all assets, basically?
Yeah, I think play. I mean, like I said, whenever we do this fixture, I'm like, it's rare you bench an attacking asset that you'd normally start, isn't it? Regardless of the fixture. So yeah, play Antonio if you do keep him, because he can get goals, but it would be the West Ham defenders I'd look to rotate out. So I've got Johnson. I'm definitely not playing him this week. So yeah. Do you think City will win? Do you concur?
Yeah, I think they're going to turn him over. Especially with West Ham being a bit low on confidence at the moment. Because they're not firing as well. It's the worst time for them to play City. The team with the best XGA in the league. I think they're not going to score against them. So looking at cleans for your City defenders, whoever they may be, hopefully Diaz this week. But great, that's all good. And the only other one that we put in the spotlight is Chelsea at home to United.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already talked about the uncertainties around United, but it's obviously play your Chelsea assets. But if you've got United assets, or is it actually? I'll let you comment. I'm putting words in your mouth.
I mean, yeah, if there's ever a reason to not jump on United assets after only being fired, it's this fixture, isn't it? Chelsea look amazing at the moment. And United, I think Gary Neville said it, even though Ole's gone, the players really need to sort themselves out because they could get humiliated here, like they got humiliated against Liverpool and City. Chelsea will be looking at it thinking, it's our turn now. It's our turn for a piece of the Man United pie here. And I think they'll get it. I think they'll get pie Tuchel against Carrick. I mean, it's going to be, if there was ever a mismatch in management credentials, it's
David
that, isn't it?
against Goliath, but with David with both hands tied behind his back.
Yeah.
Blindfold.
Actually, what would happen if David fought Goliath, which Goliath would destroy him. So, yeah, I mean, Chelsea, I'd even, if I had, if Lukaku was sort of fully fit and was definitely going to start, that would be a captainable fixture for me, for Lukaku, because he'll have a point. He's got the point to prove. United are awful, and he's amazing. So, do we know what the deal is with him?
No, I mean, it was reported that he was going to be unavailable quite early on, wasn't it? But as far as everything that I've read, there's no timeline. So we're in the dark still, I think.
It'd be interesting if he makes an appearance in Europe. Because his return is something I've definitely got my eye on. Even though he kind of had a stuttery start, didn't he, after a good initial first game?
Yeah, but Chelsea are flying, so.
Yeah, Chilwell could have a field day here. And yeah, I'm looking to get him in, I think.
Lovely.
What do you agree with all that? Sorry,
I agree with all of that. I think it's not enough time and not enough change for United to change their fate. I think it's going to be much the same as you would expect right now.
Yeah, you do see it, don't you, though, sometimes, like a manager leaves. Like Ole had it, didn't he, when Mourinho left? Like he didn't really seem to do anything. And the players just suddenly started playing like they were really relieved. Like they'd just got all this freedom suddenly. I don't think that was Ole just magically making them really creative. It was just shackles are off. So they finally felt they could just pass it wherever they wanted, and they flexed their muscles a bit. So maybe there'll be a similar feeling, but it doesn't feel like the same relief for the players that it felt when Mourinho left. It's more, oh my God, we're in an awful state here. Sorry that you have to go, Ole. I really like you. I can't really explain what's happened. Ole's gone. Oh, we got Carrick. We're still a mess. It's that kind of feeling. It'd be a fascinating, morbid watch if you.
Yeah, I can't wait to tune in.
I can't wait to tune in either. I cannot wait. I hope Chelsea just destroy them. No, I don't. Sorry, United fans. You have suffered a lot, to be fair, and even I've got my limits.
May it continue for just a little bit longer.
A little bit longer. Yeah, cool. So no other fixtures caught your eye, Josh?
Well, no, I mean, the only one that I think you might be interested in if you're looking at a double Watford attack is Leicester at home to Watford on the Sunday as well. So Leicester look a bit shaky, and
to say the least, they look shaky, man.
Would you think a goal fest there?
I don't know, maybe. Watford do like scoring goals now, it seems.
And conceding goals.
Yeah, I wonder if Brendan, since that United rumour about Rodgers come out, they just haven't looked the same, have they, Leicester? They're just not really unappealing FPL-wise, aren't they, Leicester now? Vardy's a sell, I would say, if you've got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you'd say this is a good fixture. Like on paper, if you're looking at it without maybe the recent form of the teams, you'd say Vardy at home to Watford, I'd want to keep him for this fixture. And they are leaky at the back, Watford. So you say, Leicester could still score goals even if they lose. So, I mean, I've got Vardy. I'm probably going to keep him just because there's no one that I want to move him on to, and I've only got one transfer. But I know what you mean. If you want to move to another forward, then it's not. Watford are looking good and Leicester are looking bad. But yeah, great. So that's it. And yeah, let's take another break and we'll just come back and do the game week 13 and the algo teams.
Good stuff.
Nice one. Back again. So Jack, as promised, game week 13. I'll kick it to you first. Transfer plans, you've mentioned a little bit already, and captaincy. Let's go.
Yeah, captaincy out the way. It's going to be Mo. It's going to be a momentito, no doubt about it. Yeah, transfer wise. So I've rolled one, so I've got the 2 going. Antonio, I think, is on the chopping block. So I need those sweet defenders. I need those Cancelos and Chilwell. So I've got my eye on Chilwell. So it's a question of Antonio out and maybe a Cody or a Duffy to chill Bill. But and that seems pretty straightforward. My only question is, do I get Kane out instead and go for Chilwell and someone else and keep Antonio? So that's my dilemma. If the benefit of getting Kane out is it's obviously a lot more money in the bank I'll have to play with, but I can make the move with Antonio out and keep Kane, and Kane has got the good fixtures. So Kane's got Burnley, Brentford and Norwich next, which is as good a run as you're going to get. I just think with Kane, he just clearly does not want to be there, man. Like watching that Spurs game, it's one of those, he had some chances that he should have scored and the keeper made some good saves and he looked sad he didn't score, which is fine. But with him, surely in his head, he thinks every goal I score here is a win for Levy for keeping me against my will. So I wonder if that just takes enough percentage points off his performance that is enough to really hinder him. And I really regret getting him. Yeah, I got him and Mane in like a double swoop with like my big purchases of the year. Mane's come great. Kane has been a disaster. Do I just cut the cord with Kane and keep Antonio? What do you think about what I should do with those two?
I'll start by saying I don't think there's much between them, like in terms of assets in themselves. But the fact that Spurs do have the better fixtures and Conte looks like he's starting to, give them a fire in their belly, at least, nothing else. That's what we're starting to see. And it was reassuring for Kane owners to see him get in those positions, and his XG for that game was like 0.7 or something like that. So good signs, but again, no points, no returns. But out of the two, I'd be more confident in Kane returning over the next 5 than Antonio. It's only comes down to whether you need that extra cash, because obviously Kane's an expensive asset to hold on to just for the sake of it. If you've got enough cash and it's just between the performance of those two over the next 4 or 5, I think Kane's going to be better.
Yeah, the other question is which striker obviously I bring in for that player who I'll probably play. So we talked about King. That would leave me with King and Dennis, which does look insane, really, having them both in my team and probably starting a lot of games together. The other options really, though, for those budget strikers it's Benteke, who I don't think we've mentioned yet.
Scored 4 goals.
Yeah, he's doing well. I just worry about Benteke, that is he nailed? Is he going to get rotated with Edouard, which he has been before? Yeah, he's not got consistent 90s this year, Benteke, and I wouldn't want him playing. I'm coming on, and then there's Hwang, who obviously didn't register this week, but has looked pretty sharp for Wolves. He's blanked the last few. The Adam Armstrongs. I mean, I'm in that zone, I don't really like that zone. Pookie, he's starting to score. I mean, what am I doing here?
What about even Villa assets? Are you looking at any Villa assets with their results now?
Well, they're a bit too pricey, I think, Joshua. So I can't really afford anyone above 6.5. So Ings and Watkins are probably off the table for me. Is all I'd say there. So no is the answer to them.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, you're right. Out of the ones that you've just mentioned, on paper, probably Dennis and King have shown the most over recent fixtures, but they've got the worst fixtures coming up. And it seems madness to have them both.
It does.
It is madness to have them both, I would say.
It does. What are Palace's fixtures saying? Are they...
Palace is a decent. So they've got Villa, Leeds, United, Everton, Southampton.
It's 5 easy fixtures, man. Yeah, maybe Benteke is the way forward on this. Is that insane? Benteke and Dennis up front.
I mean,
I need to just
would you be
test.
starting them? That's the other thing, isn't it?
Well, I'd be it would be a rotation thing. So, I mean, and Wemo's still kicking about for me. So do you start, it's that I'm suddenly in the dilemma of which 4 out of Livramento and Buemo, Benteke and Dennis am I starting? Which 2 out of those 4? So interesting one.
Yeah, food for thought. But I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna let it. Because it does seem so mental. I'll let the European fixtures play out. Maybe there'll be a terrible injury I have to address before then, and then make my decision later. I've got enough leeway, I think, prices wise, to afford it. And I think Chilwell's the one to go for. Would you say over him, James, and Cancelo? I can't afford, actually. I don't think, unless I dropped Kane. So would Chilwell? Do you think Chilwell's a sensible target?
he seemed sensible is the word, isn't it? He seems like
Not
the
exciting.
one who's going to be exciting. Going to be the one to get the more guaranteed minutes, but definitely not nailed. Like more guaranteed minutes out of the 2, him and James. But James has been maybe performing better, I'd say. I know Chilwell had the better XG in that game with that shot, but James got the bonus points. So
he's
obviously
cheaper. He's cheaper,
yeah,
James, isn't he?
yeah. So I mean, if I was you, and I am you in some ways because I'm looking at bringing one of them. Chilwell's the one for me.
Cool. Okay, that's enough about me. What are you up to this week?
Yeah, so taking that philosophy that I said, looking at who you want to bring in rather than who you want to get out. In an ideal world, I would go Chilwell and get DS out. Not just because he was benched this game week, but just because I think it's nice to spread those premium defensive assets across the 3 teams rather than double up on City. And obviously, Chilwell's got much greater potential for the attacking returns. So just those reasons, really. Bit of a not exactly a sideways move, maybe a diagonal kind of move. But Jota and Rafinha could be a problem because I've already got
both.
Douglas Luiz, who's out for an unconfirmed amount of time. So I've got just, the 2 playing bench players, and that's never a good place to be, is it? So I may have to fix one of those problems before I can make that Chilwell move. And United this week, as you said, there may be a bounce, so I'm not feeling the real need to bring them in. That could be, it could be kind of tempting fate there a little bit, but yeah, I can afford to wait another week. I think if I've got to fix the Jota Rafinha issue first, and Salah captaincy, as you said, nailed.
Yeah, got to be done. Yeah, you're unlucky with the Jota injury, I think, big time. Hopefully he pulls through. But it's a great time to earn. And when Firmino is injured, it is a great time to earn Jota. No doubt about it.
Yeah, he had lots of, he could have scored another one for sure. And they would just look electric, didn't they? The 3 of them up front. So
yeah,
points all round. Great. That's game week 13, transfers and captaincy. Now, final section, algo teams, Jack. How did the boys do?
How did our boys get on? The algorithm team. So XG11 and differential 11 teams picked based on algorithms, respectively. I'll just load up their league, and they had we've seen 2 good weeks for both teams, Josh. A rare thing. What we've found so far is if the differential United have a good team, the XG one tend to not have so good week, and vice versa. But this week they've both beaten my team, so well done. Well done, robots. Let's start with the differential 11. So they got 63 points. Pretty good. Nice 6 points above the average. We made despite a bad transfer, actually. So Chalobah went out. You got 6 points. And Emerson Royale of Spurs came in with a 1-pointer for Emerson. So not too good. But the differentials that have been picked so far did pretty well. So Henry of Brentford, 7 points. Obviously getting a goal. Take that. Semedo with a rare return, I would say. He actually came off the bench for De Bruyne, who didn't play. Who the robot will have to look to get out this week. Manny captaincy, obviously really good. 24 points from that. And Saint Maximin and Jimenez up front, differential striker options, getting 10 and 8 points respectively. So a solid week for the differential 11, rocketing up the ranks from 4.7 mil to 4.5 mil.
Go on, the
Well
boys.
done. Go on, the lads. So well done, Differential United. And yeah, it's rare that, because it was quite a high week scoring wise, wasn't it? Across the board, I think average 57 points. It's rare the differential team does well in those weeks because all the popular players are scoring highly. But this just showed that loads of players were scoring highly, even the differentials. So fair play, Differential United. And moving on to the XG11, a whopping 75 points for these guys. So huge. So showing that the XG underlying numbers are starting to pay dividends now. And a big one was for two players that have been in the XG11 since day one, I think.
Defenders.
So brilliant underlying stats for them both. Tarkowski and Ben Mee, the Burnley double, 8 and 7 points respectively. And another one, Sace at the back with 7 points for Wolves. So that's a brilliant return from those three defenders. Salah captain, 16 points, standard. Gallagher got a return. Jota got a return. Mane got a return. So it's that three-pronged Liverpool midfield. Incredible, really, that they're all three so high on the XG table, but it just goes to show how good they are, doesn't it? So those three doing really well. I think it's quite rare that a team would have those three in, but really paying off for these guys. But the striker woes that plagued the game also plagued the XG11. Only Chris Wood getting a return, with Aubameyang and Antonio not doing so. So the Vardy to Aubameyang transfer this week didn't really make a difference. Just 2 points for those guys. So we'll see what happens later in the week with transfers. But yeah, 2 good weeks for the algorithms.
Lovely. It's always good to see him, do well. They had a bit of a tough spot for a few weeks, but
they've had a rocky period. Yeah, so great for them. Happy for them.
Great. So yeah, that's it. I guess the only other thing to say is, like and subscribe. We'll obviously be posting more videos and snippets and other various little bits of discussion and questions and analysis as well through the week, as we normally do. YouTube, Spotify, we're on TikTok now as well, all under the name of another FPL or AFPL podcast. And yeah, anything else to say, Jack, apart from enjoy game week 13, really?
Yeah, may your arrows be green.
Your arrows be green. Lovely. All right. See you in a bit.
All right. Cheers, Josh. Bye-bye.
Bye.